Now to Grant Kippen, who is the chairman of the UN-backed ECC, that's the Electoral Complaints Commission. He joins us now on the line from Kabul. Mr. Kippen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us here at France 24. If I could ask you first of all then your reaction to the fact that a second round has been called.
Well, I mean, we had finished our part of the process by providing several orders to the Independent Election Commission, and then they went through them and came up with the necessary calculations that determined whether or not there was going to be a second round, and according to those calculations, a second round has been called.
Okay, now, of course, the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has said that there is a problem. Some 200 ballot stations are going to be revised, from what I understand. Tell us more about the logistics in terms of manning that stuff under such a short time frame. What kind of numbers are we talking about in terms of people that need replacing, and is it possible to do within 15 days?
Well, the Independent Election Commission has as you were saying, a very big logistical operation to conduct. But they've been planning for this for a number of months now, just on the potential that there might be a second round. And they are going to be supported, as they were in the first round on August the 20th, with the international military forces here, ISAF, and as well as in a major role with the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police to provide security. So my understanding is that they're prepared. They have the ballots printed. They're here in Kabul along with the ink that will be used, the indelible ink, and the polling station kit. So now the effort begins to get those materials distributed out into the provinces and ready for the vote on November the 7th.
Okay, but in terms of manpower, exactly how many people will need to be replaced?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I know the IEC is working diligently and looking at the staffing requirements, and given the issue of fraud that had occurred in the first round, they're developing the necessary mitigation measures to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Okay, now indeed, you've mentioned in the past, you've complained slightly or certainly voiced reservations about the mandate under which the ECC is trying to work in Afghanistan. Tell us more about the constraints then, the problems as far as you're concerned.
Well, I mean, we, for our own organization, we have 34 provincial offices around the country. We will be continuing on sort of business as usual through this second round. We will be any complaints that come in on polling day on November the 7th. We hope to very quickly be able to review them and determine whether or not they're significant, and then adjudicate those complaints as quickly as possible. So we're standing ready and are prepared to handle whatever complaints come our way.
Okay, but at what point, out of interest, at what point does the buck stop as such with the ECC? At what point does the members of the ECC sort of hold up their hands and say, well, we tried to do the best under the given circumstances, but this is the result, you'll just have to accept it?
Well, it's not a matter of us throwing up our hands. I mean, our organization, the mandate of our organization, is to investigate and adjudicate any complaints that arise from the electoral process. So we're very much a reactionary organization in that sense. We have to wait until complaints come our way, or we believe that there has been irregularities committed. It's the IEC's responsibility to put the necessary measures in place so that when the process does happen, that as few irregularities take place. So, we stand ready, as we have so far, to look for problems, irregularities, and we will continue to do that going forward. And we're not in the business of throwing up our hands and calling it quits.
But in terms of the IEC, which you mentioned, the Independent Electoral Commission, that is, of course, the Afghan's body. Afghanistan has been cited on Transparency International's list, for example, as being one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Was it not to be expected that there would be huge problems in trying to stage such an ambitious presidential election so soon and under such violent conditions?
Well, I would say that some of these challenges that Afghanistan faces on this transition to a more representative democracy can be expected. I mean, I don't think anybody assumed that we were going to see elections here like we see in France or Canada or the UK, other European countries. This is going to take time, people to understand the process, the different players, stakeholders involved, to fully comprehend their roles and responsibilities in it. So we fully expected to have problems, challenges, irregularities occur. But I just want to make a point also. The Independent Election Commission, as you correctly pointed out, is an Afghan institution, but so is the Electoral Complaints Commission. While there are 3 members, international members on the commission, there are also 2 Afghan members, and the organization itself is of some 300 people around the country in all 34 provinces, and there's only a handful, I'd say 17, 18 internationals involved in the organization. The rest are Afghans, and we are an Afghan-mandated institution under the electoral law. So we see ourselves very much an Afghan organization, not an international one.
And in terms then of the staff members who will need to be replaced for the second round, are any of those international?
Well, now we're talking about the Independent Election Commission, not the ECC. So we're going to wait and see what, as I mentioned earlier, what risk mitigation measures they're going to put in place in areas where there was fraud detected in the first round.
And lastly, Mr. Kippen, this has been spoken about often about how this is per head one of the most expensive elections, if not the most expensive elections in terms of manpower, security presence as well. Some 200 million, I think, was the last estimate. Who's going to be paying then for this to go to a second round?
Well, my understanding is that the money that the international community has committed to elections here in Afghanistan anticipated the second round taking place. And so those monies have already been committed. Yes, it is a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. But I would say that in most Western countries, elections are also very expensive enterprise. And so this is just the part of the price of undertaking a process anywhere in any country that has a representative democracy.
Okay, Grant Kippen, Chairman of the Electoral Complaints Commission in Afghanistan. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us here at France 24 on the line for us there from Kabul.